I've got here now are two square pieces of fabric cut from the pillowcase that I can use to show you as a sampler. Now I would prefer myself, if I were doing a sampler, my finished sampler, to use on a better fabric than this. But if this is what you have, then this is what you use. So I'm just going to remove this first piece of fabric and I'm going to show you another application of the running stitch. Now, the running stitch, when it is used for marking, then here I can show you. These are all running stitches used for different purposes. You can see one here is a long and short stitch, quite a bit longer than what I've shown you, one that's a little bit shorter, one that has a pickup stitch and then a long gap and then pickup stitch. I'll show you how to do this and I'll show you why and what for we use them. So they're called marking lines and they're used for different purposes. Now I want to mark the center of this piece of fabric, and I don't want to use pins to keep them in there. I want to put some thread to mark the actual center line so that I can have a reference point. So this would be considered a temporary marking line. I want to mark it down the center this way, and I want to mark it down the center this way. And the way that I stitch it will tell me what its purpose is for. Now I could also conceivably mark it on the true bias, but I won't go into that today. So first thing is to mark the actual center line. I fold this in half. And just crease it lightly with my fingers and open it, and it has left an impression. So this is the beauty too of using a natural fiber such as cotton or linen. When you press it down like that, you have a temporary crease that is not created using the iron. Okay. I'm going to thread a slightly longer needle. So this is not a short needle, this is slightly longer so you can see approximately how long it is. And I'm going to use two thread, let's make sure I have it long enough, two threads. So I'm holding the end that came off the spool and I'm going to cut the other end at an angle. Then I'm going to match that up here and align these two threads and cut that off there. Now that is the cut end, that's the end I'm going to knot. This end that I've got a hold of is the end that I'm going to thread the needle with. So I'm going to thread the needle, pushing those two threads through, and they're being a bit stubborn, so I hold them together, and I'm going to snip the edge to get a diagonal cut, which gives me a clean cut, and that makes it so much easier to push the two threads through. Now I've got the two threads through. I'm going to pull that, okay, and I'm going to pull this to the end, wrap this around my finger, roll it, and knot it. So it's all a single action. As you do this more often, it will become a quicker single action. Now, I'm going to begin here at the bottom, right in the center along the crease line, and put my thread in. I can go ahead and use one of these corsage pins, or you can use a dressmaking sewing pin and just anchor that end to your table. And I'm going to leave a length, and then I'm going to pick up two running stitches and pull that through and repeat. Leave a longer length, pick up 2 stitches all the way across down my center line, and then I'm going to finish it off with 1 back stitch and leave a tail. Okay. Now you can see that I have this line marked all the way along, and that is my center line of this fabric. And if you know which grain of your fabric is the true grain, then that will be the one that you use for the true grain. Now I'm going to mark it again for the cross grain. This marking line that I have here, or this stitched line, is what we call a marking line. It is a combination of a long stretch and 2 pickups here. It's that combination. We use it for marking lines. We use it on a single layer of fabric, so we don't use it to go through 2 layers. We use it on a single layer. It replaces what you would do with a pencil, because you don't want to leave any pencil lines. It replaces pins. I mean, you can certainly pin your lines. It replaces the pins so they don't get caught up. They can easily be removed, but we're not ready to remove them yet. They are temporary. They are marking lines. They're used on a single layer.